Hey everyone, again, our deep dive into the interviews that Chandler, Arizona PD did with the Clown Posse around April of this year in connection with the reopening of the death of Charles Vallow. Today, we have Jason, I'm the Man Mow, and his interview with Chandler Police. So without further ado, let's jump into it. If you'd like to support the channel, my Patreon, PayPal, membership, tip button, everything is down below. Every little bit helps. But the most important thing you can do is just watch, like, comment, subscribe. And with that being said, appreciate you so much. Let's dive into it.
Sorry. Oh, you know, I hate working after lunch. I really do. All right, Jason, I appreciate you coming down here. I don't want to take too much time, like I said earlier, but you know, I just wanted to meet you, chat with you for a little bit, kind of tell you a little bit about why we've asked you to be here. And so I'm gonna just jump right into that, not waste a lot of time here. The reason we want to talk to you is because throughout this investigation, we're kind of looking ahead at potential problems. One of the potential problem here is that making accountability for everybody on particular days. Trying to also look into the future and seeing what defense counsel might try to bring up and being able to have an answer for them. And so that's one of the reasons we've asked you to come in here, probably the biggest reason, actually. So, and there's reasons for that I'll tell you after we're done. But I'm trying to get accountability of where, and it's going to take a little bit of thought on your part too. Maybe I'm looking for some dates to place you in locations.
Okay.
Have you ever been to Idaho?
Yeah, several times.
Now, somebody told me, does your sister live in Idaho?
Mm-hmm. She lives an expert.
And she's married to by the principal Bone? Is that what I understand?
Mm-hmm.
I just found that out today. I know him.
Do you? Michael Bone? Yeah.
These two police officers are very, very friendly with these guys. I'm sure that's an interrogation tactic, but they are super friendly towards these guys. Both him and, of course, yesterday when we looked at Melanie Gibb. Very friendly. Interesting.
Yeah,
When is my sister?
Yeah, I coached this kid in football.
Oh, Jackson?
Yeah, quite a while ago. He was a great kid. He was growing up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know. Your sister taught my daughter dance.
Yep, that's what she does. That's what she does.
So yeah, I was pleasant.
I suppose because of what we heard yesterday, I'm assuming that at least one of these police officers, the larger guy that's doing most of the interrogation, is probably LDS. That's just what the vibe that I'm getting. So, just throwing that out there.
I'm surprised I found that out. They're good people. They're very good people. Both of them. I mean, they're just good people. Anyway, so I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do this, but I'd like to get some accountability of where you were on, let's say, well, actually, let's go October 9th and October 19th of 2019. I know that's a
So it sounds like they're possibly interviewing him about Tammy Daybell's the attempted shooting and her death. Very interesting.
Big job, I understand that. But if there's any way.
Let me check my phone and see if I got my calendar back that far. I don't remember what I had for breakfast.
I remember what I had for breakfast: cheese grits. Went up you on there, Mal. And yes, I know that's not keto, but I'm a work in progress, I promise.
Let's see. I mean, it would have been in the fall. Were you up there in Idaho? Do you recall in the fall at all? In 2019?
Go back there. October. I don't have my glasses with me. Crap. One of those readers?
How many more excuses is he going to throw out to not be able to answer the question? I'm not saying that. I don't remember exactly where I was on October 9th or 19th of 2019. I assume I was probably right here in my home office or in another room in the house working most of the day. But, yeah, very, just kind of weird.
They are. I didn't know what we just call them old man readers.
Yeah.
Because we all have a pair.
That's funny.
I don't have anything here that says that I was in October 2019. I don't have anything that says that.
Would you normally have something booked if you had it planned?
In October, I wasn't teaching then, so it's possible that I was doing a lot of traveling back then, a lot of speaking all over the country. But that usually.
This is in reference to his book series for children that's based on the life of Moroni and the Book of Mormon, basically transforming the stories or some of the stories from the Book of Mormon into children's fantasy stories. I actually reviewed one of his books. I'll link it up here.
Was in I have it here. If I did anything.
What about the 9th? You got anything on the 9th?
That would be a Wednesday. No, I don't have anything on a Wednesday, October.
Looking at a calendar is kind of pointless. I mean, if you weren't scheduled to be somewhere outside of your normal schedule, you wouldn't book that. So I would assume that if he had a speaking engagement, that it would have been booked, possibly, unless this is a new phone, which is another consideration. But if it's on Google, it should have transferred over. But I'm just saying, if you're just your normal everyday life, nothing outside of that, you wouldn't necessarily have it booked. Or if you had something nefarious going on, you wouldn't have put that on your calendar either.
On 9th and the 19th. The 19th, I did an event at Feed My Starving Children here in the Valley.
On what day?
October 19th. I did that.
Where's your pen?
Put it on my calendar.
That means write that down. Somebody write that down. He did a benefit for Feed the Children.
I was at Feed My Starving Children October 19th, which is they package food. So it was probably for my church. We took the youth there. Feed my starving children. That's what my calendar says.
Unless that was some kind of reference to a vow about spiritual knowledge, Feed My Starving Children. But I'm assuming it's some kind of hunger charity.
Did you need to see that?
No, I got it.
And then October 9th, I don't have anything for October 9th.
Okay. Feed that starving children.
You may need a more.
That doesn't have anything to do with that organization that Christine
Atwood?
Atwood has anything to do with.
Oh, I have no idea.
Do you know who she is?
The name is familiar. It's a place in Mesa. It's over by where the Fiesta Mall used to be, and it's a processing center.
Okay.
We bring volunteer groups come in and one guy pours a cup of rice, one guy pours a cup of beans into like a package, and then they seal it.
And sometimes teams compete against each other for how many they can package up in one sitting.
This Christina Atwood, she has a charity that she runs or is involved with, and it has to do with.
Oh, you know what? I know who she is. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. No, it doesn't.
Different one. Yeah. Okay. So that was 19-0 on the 9th. If I asked you to look through any financials, or generally the best way to do it is financials, or you got any? Oh God, you got any calls or texts that go back to the 19th of
the 19th or the 9th?
Or excuse me, the 9th or the 9th? Well, I guess 9th, really the 9th.
Calls.
Possibly he still has texts from that far back. Depends on how many texts he's actually sent that might still be on his phone. The cell company, if he would sign something to allow them to check his cell records, they might be able to get more information going further back. Bank records, yeah, I could pull up, if I needed to, I could pull up my banking app and put in the dates and let them see all transactions for that time as well.
Calls, texts. I know with my phone, I got stuff.
They do cycle off after a while.
I got stuff on there from. It's silly. I just need to go.
How long have you had that phone in particular?
This phone in particular, less than a year.
Oh.
Yeah, my category doesn't go back. It drops off. Well, it's reloading.
Some calls and texts, if you transfer things over via the SIM card, and if you've got stuff saved to the phone, then the stuff on that other phone is going to remain with that phone. But if you had saved anything to the SIM card or the cloud, that's all going to be transferred to that phone. So it would depend on his way of saving things.
Well, it's worth a shot. I mean,
No, it doesn't seem to want to go back that far.
Dude, just subpoena his phone records, which I'm sure you're already doing. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's standard police procedure. This guy's going to give you very little information, and I suppose that's because he was a former police officer. He knows what they're getting at. He's probably not going to give them any information voluntarily, which is actually a smart way of dealing with the police. Unlike Melanie Gibb, who just all out there.
You normally use your debit card when you go out and about to get food or whatever?
Almost 100%, yeah. Unless I'm traveling, and I use my business card for everything.
And if you had the ability to online go back in time for those records to check those dates where you're using the card, that could be helpful.
I just want to see. I want to just be able to say, okay, we talked to Jason. He said this is where he was. This is how we show where he was.
Okay. Am I getting drug into this?
It's, I think, more along the lines of to not.
Yeah.
Jason, you know the drill. You are a person of interest that probably won't be moved into a suspect because I don't think you had anything to do with anything other than perhaps feeding into delusions of grandeur on the part of the clown posse, but or the rest of the clown posse, and maybe being the source of the ideas about zombies. But yeah, you're a person of interest. You're drug into it. You're in it, boy. You're in it, big boy.
Did he tell you what's happening to me online and with social media because of all this?
I don't. I would tell you that I kind of keep track of that on my own just by.
Translation, I don't really care what's happening to you on social media. I'm just here to get information and solve this case.
Being involved in the case, I know that you've taken a hammering on it. Yeah. So, and I feel bad for you. I truly do. I don't.
No, he doesn't.
I think it's probably in Missouri.
He doesn't.
I mean, they got wanted posters out for me. Some of these wingnuts. They're calling. They're canceling my shows. They're messing with my employment. I mean, they're trying to get my books canceled.
Yeah. So like Dan said, one of the best ways.
Yeah, he's just going to turn this around, kind of gaslight it, and say, oh, well, the best way is to tell us everything. That way we can let people know that you're innocent, but they're not going to do that. And as far as Mow's writing, I do think it's wrong. I don't think he was heavily entrenched in this as some of the others. I think maybe he was a useful idiot in a lot of ways. So I do think it's wrong that his employment's in danger. This is where I'm kind of torn. I love true crime. I absolutely love it. And as much as I love delving into this case, it's going to be really hard for anybody associated with this case to get a fair trial. And I've said this many times. I'm torn between my love for deep diving into it and talking about it, which is why I tend to stick with stories that already have a resolution. I'm not adding anything to that other than a detailed retelling of a story, things that have already been, the person's already been convicted and sentenced. I feel a lot better about that, but that's the reason I don't cover a whole lot of current trials. And the reason the majority of my videos about this case are book reviews, just so that we can understand the mentality of some of these people, which is why I don't like the doxing and the threatening of employment. It's wrong. Don't do that. These people are innocent until proven guilty. And I know I've said many times that I believe Chad and Lori did what they did. I believe they're guilty. I believe some of these other people are culpable in that. But we don't know yet. We don't know what happened, who's more guilty, who's doing it. So we still have to retain that. And that's where I've fallen short, is by going ahead and saying that. But I think the writing's on the wall. And so that's the reason you don't find me covering a whole lot of ongoing cases. This one, the Murdochs, I've done one or two videos on. Summer Wells, I've covered very minimally. And, of course, Gabby Petito. But this one, the majority of my coverage has been book reviews, which is really, and only covering the facts as we know it, verified through police records and things like that. So if you're one of the people out there doxing Jason Mow, trying to get his employment canceled, trying to get his books canceled, don't. Because of all of the people that consider themselves literary masters in this clown posse, his book is actually the most well written. I can get behind it. It's a good fantasy story. If I was an LDS kid, I would love to read all those books. I think they're good. They're fine for what they are. So there's no need to cancel them. So just stop it. Stop it. Talks amongst yourselves all you want to online, but don't damage somebody's livelihood. That's wrong.
All this. I want your copy, but you were a copy.
You don't have to give it to me. You don't have to sugarcoat it. What do you mean?
What I want, what I really need, is you to consent to just giving us some DNA, so a mouth swab. Here's why. Some of this evidence we have is forensics, and I want to be able to say that any DNA that we come up with is not yours. Before the defense comes up and says, well, did you go test him? Did you talk to him? Because, Jason, if you don't think that's a possibility here,
I know.
that's exactly the way they're going to try. They're going to come from every angle, from everybody.
I know. Swab
That's
it.
why I want to put you
I have
not
nothing to do
liable.
with it. Swab it. I got what you got.
I mean,
Very wise move, and actually the police officer's doing him a favor. He knows that Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow's defense attorneys are going to come at everybody else in this, trying to pin it on someone else. So he's wise to protect himself, submit to all the testing. If he's innocent, which I believe he is, of the actual crime, like I said, he was used by the others, I think, and kind of overstepped his bounds when it comes to being clergy or whatever he considers himself. But I don't think he did anything necessarily wrong. So he's wise to just say, hey, look at everything. I'm innocent. Didn't do it. He's very wise to do that.
Whatever I have to do to get myself away from this crowd.
I think this is probably the best way, because it means there's nothing here that indicates this.
Nope.
So we'll go find something else. And you're not the only one we're getting with.
So I think my stuff's already on file.
Probably. I know your prints are for sure.
Yeah.
So he's going to submit to some DNA. I'm not quite sure what kind of
What do
DNA.
you want me to?
No, you go ahead. I'll watch it.
Probably a mouth swab, if I had my
Are you taking
guess.
it back to Idaho, or you got one?
I'll take it back to Idaho, and if we come up with, because a lot of stuff is still at the lab. In fact, they're arguing today, should be arguing today. So you can probably get online and watch it, but they should be arguing today on some DNA testing. If we get DNA that's that we don't know whose it is, we may send that and say, compare this. But, you know,
I know.
I'm truly just doing this to make sure that, you know, you're accounted for. I know you're not there.
Or a bunch of those kids needs to burn in hell, so. If you want me to.
I can't agree with you more.
That list is getting long. So you still doing much traveling and doing any, or do you have
COVID shut everything down. Yeah, I was. Matter of fact, the last time I was in Idaho, I lectured at the Y there. I was for Education Week.
Really?
One of the guest lecturers there.
During Education Week.
Yeah.
How long? When was that?
Last year. Was it that? No, it was before COVID, so it's 2 years ago.
Yep, mouth swab.
No, just cheeks. There we go.
But that was over the summer.
Yeah, I don't live too far from your sister's.
And their son, Jackson.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward ahead just a little bit. This entire interview was only like 23 minutes long, so they did not interview him as long as they do Gibb, which leads me to believe they know he's not as heavily entwined in it as the others. But I'm going to fast forward just a little bit and we'll come back.
You were alone with him when he started these conversations?
I've never been alone with him. I can answer that question right now.
Never been with anybody. Did you ever attend any meetings with him when he started talking about these things you've heard about, dark light, zombies, dead people, dark spirits people? You ever hear anything like that from him?
No.
How about Lori?
No. I had no idea she was capable of doing what she did.
How'd you meet Lori? Seems like I might know, but I
don't remember who it was, but I was actually in the LDS Temple in Gilbert.
Oh, really?
And I passed by, what is her name?
Gibb?
No.
Oh, jeez. Zulema? I mean, is it one of the friends of theirs? I can go through them all.
Yeah, I don't remember.
This cop is well versed.
I don't remember her name. Crap.
There's Melanie, Zulema,
Serena, Christina,
Julie.
No. Oh, man.
Nicole?
Nicole, what's her last name? You remember?
No.
Really tall.
I've never seen her yet.
I think it might have been Nicole. Used to be in her ward out there. I can't remember her name. But I was we passed each other in.
Well, were you in Lori's ward?
No.
Oh, okay. I thought Nicole might have been in.
And I think it's Nicole and Lori were there. And as I passed by, what was told to me was Lori said, "That's the guy that wrote those books about Captain Roman." And
oh yeah.
And Lori wanted to meet me. And so
Obviously, Lori wanted to meet somebody that she thought was famous. He wrote those books. Oh, let's meet him. Typical Lori Mo.
Said hi, shook hands, all that stuff, and that's how we met. And then she was in the large circle of people that I knew through doing my podcast and my speaking and stuff. And that's the acquaintance that I had with her. And then she was friends with Melanie. She became friends with Melanie. And then she was a recurring guest on the podcast. Have you had a chance to hear the podcast and stuff?
Your podcast, I really haven't.
Yep.
Everybody and their brother's got a podcast here lately.
And
What do you go under?
For what?
For your podcast, what's your podcast called?
It's called Time to Warrior Up.
Okay. Oh, you know what? You get to know that.
But we shut that down. I shut that down a long time ago.
Oh yeah, I know. Because if you'll go back on my channel, I'll link it above. I actually reacted and we listened to an episode of the Warrior Up podcast that we were able to glean from somewhere on the internet, but he has shut everything down, every single podcast from every single person that Lori Vallow, Melanie Gibb, any of these people were on is just gone. The only thing I could find is that one episode of the Warrior Up podcast, and then that real creepy one that Zulema was on with the New Age girl. Those are literally the only thing that still exists out there, to my knowledge.
I got a job as a seminary teacher, and so I couldn't do the podcast anymore. So I stopped.
Are you still doing it? How's that going?
I never imagined myself ever teaching high school kids about God. That was the farthest thing from my mind.
So I wonder if he's doing this Virtue at the Temple, a private school, or like a Mormon affiliated school. I wouldn't think that the state of Arizona would allow public schools to teach that. So I'm just thinking a separation of church and state and all. But I'm thinking maybe it's some kind of parochial school. If you know, let me know down below.
And I was in the right place at the right time, and they needed an ass. That seminary teacher for adoption high school had been promoted, and they didn't have anybody, and somebody thought I'd be a good fit. And so they went through the process, and I became an employee of the church, and now I teach seminary.
Good. Some of the best people I know were my seminary teachers. They were good people. I don't want to pry too much, but I want to get just a bit personal here. You're married now.
Yes.
When you knew Lori, were you married?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any type of relationship with Lori?
No.
I want to cut the head off that snake right now.
No.
Okay. And Noel and Chad again.
He just called Lori a hoe.
We talked to him a few times on your podcast, and you met him at a conference.
That's it.
Talked to him at a conference.
Yeah, 1 or 2 conferences, and he was a guest on my podcast. I've never been alone with him. Never met his family.
Never talked about this bizarre stuff like dark. His wife was going to die. Or
No,
like that.
no.
Okay.
No. That would have sent some red flags up.
Okay. Didn't you have anything? I don't think I got anything. I think that's it. If you just kind of try to give the best you can accountability for those times, that'd be awesome. And we can
Shouldn't be an issue to pull those records up.
hopefully put this to bed.
Okay.
So, all right, good.
Well, that's pretty much it. What do y'all think? I think he was very honest, straight, forthcoming. I think, like I said, he was just kind of used. Maybe the idea for the zombies came from him without his knowledge, because that's the only thing I can find because of the movie. And I did a deep dive on Jason Mow where I cover all that. I'll link it above as well. And so, with that being said, I'll be back soon with a Zulima's interview. And talk to you soon. Until next time. Keto Krime. Out.